Moirei ben Abaisai, Harav ben Tzion Elisha.
As we are experiencing a collective struggle of our people, I wanted to reflect also on personal struggles as well. And what does the personal struggle, how does it affect the collective struggle that we're all experiencing at the moment? Nothing, I think, no story really touches me as much as this particular story that I heard of the Rebbe regarding the definition of failure and personal struggle and challenges. And there's a man that came to the Rebbe one of the years, and he confessed to the Rebbe all the different problems that he was experiencing in his avodas Hashem, and this difficulty and that obstacle and all these problems that were making him feel very uninspired, very stuck, and also depressed, quite frankly. Depressed in his life because he was not actualizing his potential, and he was feeling extremely down on himself and the situation that he was in. And the Rebbe took a moment to ask him a personal question. And what's that question? Did he have any hobbies? And he told the Rebbe that he likes art. So the Rebbe asked him, what kind of art do you like? And he told him that he likes paintings. Oh, paintings. Is there a particular painting that you like? And he says, as a matter of fact, there is. I have a favorite painting, and I could look at that painting for hours. It's so meaningful to me. It's so symbolic. So the Rebbe asked him to explain, why was it so beautiful for him? So he says that it's a certain scene of a certain landscape, and the way that the sun is, and how the artist portrayed all the details and the strokes really invoked a certain feeling that he really connected with, and it symbolized something for him that was tranquil, that was emotional, that was personal. So the Rebbe asked him, if it's a landscape, I have a question for you, and sorry if I asked you this question. He said, but what if there was a photographer that was right there in that point where the artist chose to compose this painting, and he took a picture of the same place? How would that compare? Would the photograph be more accurate, less accurate? What do you think? So he says, Rebbe, obviously the photograph would be much more accurate. So the Rebbe asked him, how much is this painting? How much is this worth? So he says, oh, this painting is worth millions, tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. So the Rebbe continued to ask, well, if that's the case, how much would be that photograph? How much does that cost? So he says, well, I don't know, $1, $2, $5. I mean, nothing. So the Rebbe says, I don't really understand. If the painting is not as accurate as the photograph, how come the photograph is only a couple of dollars, and this painting that is inaccurate is hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars? How could that be? So the man says, well, I mean, let me explain to you. Let me try to explain. I mean, the painter, he put himself into it, his childhood, his experiences, his emotion, his whole being into it. A photograph, the photographer just took a click and that's it. It's impersonal. It's basically like it could be like a million of those photographs. It's not the same. So the Rebbe says, aha. So that's how it is also in life. A painting is like a person's life. You put your passion and your traumas and everything into it, and what you can make is a masterpiece. Whereas an angel doesn't have all these challenges. An angel doesn't have all these obstacles, and everything is perfect with the angel. Everything is just perfect. However, what the angel does, because there's no struggle and there's no problem, it's meaningless. It's like a photograph that costs $1. Whereas a human being that makes something of his life, and there's ups and there's downs and there's struggles, this is a masterpiece which is invaluable. So failure in this light is actually a very beautiful thing that makes our humanity this priceless experience that is far-reaching for ourselves and also for others. I mean, the Rebbe mentioned more than 1,000 times. He said himself, actually, this word regarding the Baal Shem Tov, that whatever you see and you hear, you have to learn in Avodas Hashem. It wasn't like a cutesy little thing to say, but really it was like
A way of life.
a way of life that he emphasized so many times. He himself said over 1,000 times to drive it into us that it's serious, it has to be personal. This story of failure and struggle, I find actually I found a similarity in something that is in the world of art. There's a certain Japanese pottery art form called kintsugi. Kintsugi, you can look it up. And basically, what is it? They take broken pots, broken clayware, earthenware, and they basically bind them together. They glue them together. Now, they're not trying to hide the fracture, the brokenness, but rather they're emphasizing it by sealing it with pure gold. So now
like
what you have,
jeans. It's like torn jeans.
so what you have now is a pottery that has like these asymmetrical fractures that are highlighted with gold lines. And before, however it was in terms of the price, it's incomparable to how much it is now. That it is, with all these gold lines going everywhere, that makes it a unique item, unlike anything else. So our brokenness, our fractures are not something to be ashamed of, but they actually what makes us more valuable when we connect, when we strive to put ourselves together to tshuva, connect with Hashem. There's a very beautiful story that I wanted to mention. It kind of connects to this in a sense, to me, that the Frierdiker Rebbe and his father, the Rebbe Rashab, were walking one time, and the Rebbe Rashab was mentioning to him that in the field that they were, the grass, even the grass, the way that it's swaying, it was all in the mindset of Hashem in the beginning of creation. This blade of grass, how it's moving this way or that way, it's all b'hashgacha pratis. It was all pre-thought from the beginning of creation, and it's part of the whole master plan of all of time, all of space, the whole bria. The Frierdiker Rebbe continued walking with his father, and without thinking, or not without thinking, when he was contemplating and when he was thinking, he took a leaf from a tree and he started kind of like tearing it apart and throwing it. And the Rebbe Rashab asked him, I don't really understand what you're doing. Why would you do such a thing? Why did you take this leaf out of the tree? We just talked about hashgacha pratis and how every blade of grass is so important to all of creation. And here you took a leaf without even thinking about it, and the leaf has a soul and has a body and a soul that has a certain mission, and to carelessly just toss it away, I mean, it's wasteful and it's really disrespectful. And so much more so, he was saying, he wanted to bring, just like a leaf is so important, so much more so a human being is so important. And the idea of hashgacha pratis, the idea of divine providence, how everything is here because Hashem puts it there for a special mission and for a special goal. And nothing should be taken for granted, and everything is so meaningful and so important. Now, talking of leaves, I mean, what we find right now, we can't really see it now in the dark, but everything here is going to change, or it's starting to change. You have all the greenery is becoming orange and yellow and red, and over here especially, it's just breathtakingly beautiful. Now, taking the idea of what do we learn from what we see and what we hear in Avodas Hashem, the idea of the fall foliage and how they change color connects, I think, to the first stories that we mentioned in this way. For years I was thinking about this, like, what's the meaning of this? Like, what can we take from this idea of this changing of these colors, that they're so bold? And I was, for years, had this idea that you give it all you got. Even at the very end, you just give it all you got. But this year, I was researching a little bit, like, why do they change color? Yeah, it's a little chiddush for me. Why are they changing color? Then I was learning a little bit about the reason, the scientific reason, the biological reason for it. So the leaf is made out of, there's chlorophyll inside of it, that green element, that green pigment. And when it starts getting colder, when it's starting to get less light, it can't take it, and basically withdraws into the tree. this life energy, and it dies away. Inherent in the leaf itself, all along, were these yellow and orange hues that were never there, that were not visibly before, but now in this harsher condition, all of a sudden,
Comes out.
they basically come out. That's the yellows and the oranges. The reds, though, those basically are special pigments that are made by the tree specifically in these harsher times to save the leaf. And it's interesting that specifically the most beautiful, the most vibrant colors come out in the harshest times and in the darkest times. So I think this year the takeaway could be that specifically when we are met with a challenge, we're met with a certain darkness, we have a potential that is inherent within us, and also we could discover it and also reveal it in a way that was not possible before, because other energies were more apparent, could we say, but that potential within us not only exists, but it has to be utilized. And even beyond that, there's even higher potential that we can actually manufacture, inspired by harshness and inspired by the darkness. And I really hope that each and every one of us could take our own struggles and win and make our own Geula practice, and that Geula practice, our personal redemption, affects the whole, and hopefully we'll find ourselves in the Geula Klalis, the real redemption for all of the world, immediately.